Buen dia, buen raison, buena son. Whatever time of the day it is for you, buen dia. Okay, good day. So let's get into tonight's discussion. William Lynch and how his speech is still influential today within the African culture. And you know what? Another thing about it, you can't even really just use it for the African culture, but that's the culture we're gonna start with because that's who it was originally intended for. Willie Lynch was a British slave owner in the Caribbean. He was supposedly one of the best, which is why he was asked to come to the bank of the James River in Virginia in 1712 to give a speech about controlling slaves. I found this version of the letter on finalcall.com, so credit to them. I'm going to skip through the beginning and start here. Now, this is William Lynch. In my bag here, I have a foolproof method for controlling your black slaves. I guarantee every one of you that, if installed correctly, it will control the slaves for at least 300 years. My method is simple. Any member of your family or your overseer can use it. I have outlined a number of differences among the slaves, and I take these differences and make them bigger. I use fear, distrust, and envy for control purposes. These methods have worked on my modest plantation in the West Indies, and it will work throughout the South. Take this simple little list of differences and think about them. On top of my list is age, but it's there only because it starts with an A. The second is color or shade. There is intelligence, size, sex, sizes of plantations, status on plantations, attitude of owners, whether the slaves live in the valley, on a hill, east, west, north, south, have fine hair, coarse hair, or is tall or short. Now that you have a list of differences, I shall give you an outline of action. But before that, I shall assure you that distrust is stronger than trust, and envy stronger than adulation, respect, or admiration. The black slaves, after receiving this indoctrination, shall carry on and will become self-refueling and self-generating for hundreds of years, maybe thousands. Don't forget, you must pitch the old black male versus the young black male. The young black male against the old black male. You must use the dark-skinned slaves versus the light-skinned slaves. The light-skinned slaves versus the dark-skinned slaves. You must use the female versus the male versus the female. You must also have white servants and overseers who distrust all blacks. But it is necessary that your slaves trust and depend on us. They must love, respect, and trust only us. Gentlemen, these kits are your keys to control. Use them. Have your wives and children use them. Never miss an opportunity. If used intensely for 1 year, the slaves themselves will remain perpetually distrustful. Thank you, gentlemen. Once again, from thefinalcall.com. Now, there's so much speculation about this speech. Some people believe that it was made up. Some that he got his teachings from Yaqub and technology. Regardless, this letter definitely had an impact on slaves back in the days, and certain aspects of this letter are being used upon the African culture today. All cultures, once again, but like I said, just let's take a lens from the African view. I always talk about how we are not a monolithic culture, yet for some reason, media continues to perceive us as such, to the point that we're actually living out every aspect of Willie Lynch's speech. Is that truly a coincidence, though? Willie mentioned in the letter a few things that I want to point out and see if we can break it down and correlate it to our culture today. Willie explains that these are methods he uses at some of his spots in the West Indies. Now remember, people believe Willie's the best, so maybe he has some of the best slaves in the West Indies. Some of us are familiar with how the slave owners had breeding farms as well throughout the US and the Caribbean. So maybe this man had some of the best slaves. Then he tells them as he's reading his speech to divide the people by little differences. He mentions age, color, intelligence, just to name a few. But the one that stood out was status on plantations. I found this one rather interesting. Now, let's relate those times with now. Look at the African culture and how separated we are amongst each other over the pettiest things: hair, skin complexions, accents or dialects, and more. The same way Willie took these little things and divided the slaves shows within the culture today and how we allow subtle differences to divide us. It is as if the letter continues to stand true up until today. Okay, check it. At one point, there was more favoritism towards lighter tone, light skin, black people than dark toned people back in the day. Because of this favoritism, it created a status for the light toned, the yellow, red bone, the browning, however you call them. The owners simply treated the light skins, the lighter tones, better because of their complexion. If you were the color of a paper bag or lighter, you know, then you got more privileges than the darker ones, you know. There's certain places during back in the days, it's like you could pass as white if you could be lighter than the paper bag. You know, it's crazy. You gotta read a lot of these stories. Now, let's check it to media today. When we watch TV and music videos, we usually see a bunch of light-skinned models. Some you may even question if they're really that fair skinned or if it's just good lighting, you know? You could do a lot these days with cameras. So now there's a status created. The lighter tones get more opportunity. Now, not only does this cause jealousy and insecurities within darker tone people, but it builds a mentality with certain lighter tone people to believe they are better than someone with a darker complexion. This causes so much insecurity within dark tone people because they feel they can't be accepted or beautiful due to their skin. So they go off and bleach their skin, use all these other products and chemicals just to be considered acceptable. Now let's think about it, right? When you see media, you see a lot of these light-skinned girls. They're in media. These are the ones that they show our brethrens preferring more than anything, you know? That's who they give their love to. And, you know, naturally as black people, we want to be loved by our own as well. It's crazy, but that's what it is. And we look at that like, yo, how comes we don't get this type of love from you guys? Why do we have to dress up like this, look like this? You get me? So they got the light-skinned people feeling like, okay, I'm getting more opportunities. So it creates kind of like a class. Think about it, right? Status, label, class. Now go to the dark skin side. They're looking at it like, I'm not getting the same opportunities. I'm told that I'm not beautiful, you know? So you see some of these people bleaching their skins, trying to get lighter, trying to fit in, hit that perception of what beautiful is and what's acceptable. So it still plays in today's society when you really check it out, right? And I'm going to get on to another topic later down the line about black men and their feelings towards black women, and that's a whole nother topic, but let's keep going. Now let's get a little deeper. Now think about this from a psychological standpoint. Picture yourself as someone with a dark complexion. Now I'm going to continue with Willie's method. Now you just think you're in the state of that dark skinned person. Now I'm Willie talking. I'm belittling your skin. I make you feel so bad about being dark toned that now when you see someone dark, you feel the same ways towards them as you would feel towards yourself. Okay? Okay, now let's keep going. What's one of the biggest issues and topics when it comes to people of African descent? We already know, our hair. They divide us by our hair, right? If it's not straight like Rachel's, then it's not acceptable. If it can't be cut, then Dre ain't getting a job, you feel me? If a comb can't go through it, then it's no good. I believe the golden generation refers to this as tender-headed. Yeah, that's what it is, tender-headed. Remember they used to be like, oh, you just tender-headed? Nah, that ain't supposed to go through my head. Hello? If it hurts, there's a reason, you know? A lot of the knowledge about how to take care of our hair was somewhat lost at one point that we believed our hair was only good if it's like Rachel's. So instead of being taught how to take care of our hair, we were prevented from using our techniques and products to grow our hair and take care of it properly. Like, remember at one point, if you guys used to follow me online, I discussed how they used to give us like cooking grease, use sheep cards, which are the cards that you comb sheep's hair with, and they would give it to the black women to cause them agonizing pain because, you know, your hair is part of your nature. It grows you. You got to think of it like a garden. I always tell y'all that. Think of your hair as a garden. It grows with you. Every lock has a journey. You feel me? So, realizing this as slave owners, one of the things that African women took pride in back in those days was their hair. Mind you, black women's hair carries a lot of pheromones, which creates desire, sensual desire. So if you had your hair out, just imagine how the brothers were feeling about the sisterns back then. So as a way to defeminize our women, they were given these sheep cards to comb their hair with. Yeah, we've discussed that before. So like I said, instead of being taught how to take care of our hair, we've been prevented using our techniques. So we haven't been taking care of our hair properly. Now all we do is try to use the same techniques as Rachel, because Rachel is what's considered having good hair, right? We want hair like Rachel. But for some reason, we can't get our hair like Rachel. The ones that can, though, they get treated better now because they could pass closer to a fairer complexion. They have good hair. The others of us, no, we have nappy hair. Yeah, but wait. Wait. Since when is nappy bad? Somebody tell me. Since when has nappy been bad? We believed it meant something bad for so long when it really means full of curls. Africans, that 4C strand, curliest strand. That's what nappy is. Okay, you guys know how I feel about that. I'm not going to digress. Now you feel that you have good hair, you're better. And now other people feel like they're not good enough because of their hair. Now let's put these two together. Now put yourself back in. Dark skin, I'm getting treated bad already, and now my dark tone and my hair is bad. Think how that person's feeling right now. They're being told this all the time. It's being repeated, cycle through cycle. Now you take that attitude of how you feel for yourself and pass it on to someone who looks like you. So now keep adding in all the other things William mentioned. Ready? Okay, now we got all the older ones. The red bones right there. The wannabe white girls, valley girls. They all different. Yeah, they call us all different things. Preppy gals, field Negro, house Negro. You feel me? It's a way to divide. Now psychologically, how are you feeling? Dark skin, hair, not treated good. The other dark-skinned person that looks like you hating on you too because he's getting treated a certain way. Yeah. Psychologically, probably confused as hell and not really feeling yourself. So once again, you pass on this attitude you have towards yourself onto others. Then others pass it on to others. Remember, like I said, if you used to follow me on live, I used to talk about the exchange of energy. You know, you could give out good positive energy, but if somebody's giving you negative, you guys are going to exchange. You may be helping them move up in their life, but you're going to have to take some of their negative energy and you might have to fall down a few steps. So that's why I always said, hey, protect your energy and know who you surround yourself around. But anyway, like I said, it's like an exchange of energy. Then it becomes a trend. Everyone has a label, everyone has a class, everyone has a status. Everyone's fueling this type of energy that creates these divides. Now they pass on this trend to their kids, then their kids pass it on to their kids, to a point that they're refueling this trend, and now the cycle is self-generating. Okay. Now let's go back to the part of the speech where William Lynch said, "The black slaves, after receiving this indoctrination, shall carry on and will become self-refueling and generating for hundreds of years, maybe thousands. Does this stuff refuel for generations until it gets to a point that it's instilled in the culture? It starts to feel like it's a part of us, you know? Like this is natural now. Interesting. Let's get on the aspect of female versus male. This is the root of a lot of the reasons we continue to see the William Lynch speech continue to play out. The destruction of the black family. Now, you can go online and research or just go to finalcall.com, but throughout different types of slavery, different times of slavery, really, you usually see how they separate the father from the household. Kind of like a lot of Florida housing because a brethren had a roach on him of marijuana and was hit with a felony charge. Now, because of this felony, he can't get into housing or live with his family. Not saying that they coincide or anything, you know. I'm just throwing out a scenario, you know, to relate it. Back in the days, they took the male worker to another plantation and left the mother to fend for herself with the children. Why? This weakens the family. This causes imbalance. Now, like I say, y'all need to start listening to some of my lives. I know I don't go live no more, so I can't blame you. But we used to talk about this too. How a king and a queen sit on a chessboard next to each other. Reason, it's a representation of balance. See, what your queen does on the chessboard, she can move any amount of spaces during her move. The king, he could only move one space. It's real life. Because what you give a woman, she multiplies. That's why she's able to take all these extra steps. There's privileges to being a woman. You feel me? Like I said, I've used this scenario like, oh, if they see a lady outside on the street, they'll pick her up, take her where she needs to go, everything. Man will sit there. So that's our privilege of being able to protect you, to utilize our skill. Because if you're in war against another, another tribe, another people, you're aiming for the kingpin, right? You're aiming for the king. You're not thinking about his queen. The queen could be over here siding with Rome, siding with this person, making negotiations over here with this person, and you don't even know what's going on because you're so focused on the king. And then boom, checkmate. She got you set up and you ain't even realize it. Now, like I said, it's about balance. Now, things are imbalanced within the families. Now, it's easier to control a family when there's no dominant male figure, okay? Now, let's just say taking the father away these days is him getting locked up. Can't take care of the kids the way he would like to. Not saying this is all situations, but I'm using a scenario. Now your kids are mad because you're not there and build a resentment towards you. They start to act out with mom. Mom is stressed. It's not easy for mom to raise a man because maybe she never had an influence of what a man is supposed to be. Maybe she never had a real example of a father figure for her to know how to treat a man. Maybe her parents were teenagers themselves and still doing teenage things when they had her. So mom wasn't trained to know how to be with a man and to take care of a man and a child. Vice versa for men. Think about it, same situation, man. Their father's not there. They don't know who to look up to. They feel like they have to be the man of the house at a very young age. They see mom crying and anybody knows, especially in our African culture, no man likes to see his mama cry. I don't care how tough of a gangster you are, how big and bad you are. When you see mama cry, you're ready to break down tears. That's just what it is. None of us like to see our mothers cry. Okay, they see mom stressed out, mom's crying, so they take to the streets because that's all they know. That's all they see. Everybody else just like them, looking like them, doing all the same things, making money, understanding that there's risk, but the risk is worth not seeing mama cry tears. You feel me? But it actually does the opposite effect. Mom's worried, mom's up, mom's like, oh my God, where is my son? Mom's thinking about how dad was. You're acting out like your daddy now. Now mom's getting mad at you, treating you like how dad was being treated or how he was acting towards her, having the memories. It's a lot of trauma in there. A lot of trauma. on both sides. No example of a man in the household, your child is already set 30 steps back. Okay, the reason I brought up this speech is because even though we've come a long way over the years, we still have certain aspects of our culture that need cleaning up. If a speech like this, which was recited back in 1712, can still be related to the culture of today, then I think we really have to take a long, hard look at how divided we really are. Whether it be by complexion, what side of town you live on, it doesn't matter what your status is. We don't need to divide black. We need to diversify. How many times must I preach that? Look, the speech is still relevant within these times. We're so divided by these little things that we're refueling this self-generating cycle. Clothes, jewelry, sports, Floridian, New Yorker, Jamaican, Haitian, Nigerian, Liberian, all these labels just to separate us. I keep saying it, until we start talking about these issues and digging more to the root, the better we can take care of the culture and flourish it. We automatically shun things we don't understand. We've accepted these lies about ourselves without questioning things. We influence a culture, but the question then becomes, do we really own the culture? Simply because we cannot accept everyone for their differences. This is why we have a lot of these issues. Why would I want to accept a culture that only shows me as light skinned? Where's the diversity? That only have my brethrens wanting me if I have extensions and look like a model, knowing like, hey, a lot of our people come in so many different forms. You have skinny, you have the slim gal, you have gals with the junk in the trunk, you have tall brethren, short brethren, skinny, big, it's we have everything within our culture. So why am I being shown a certain image? Why would I want to accept a culture that limits my blackness? Hello. Yeah, once again, we're not a monolithic culture. When are we going to break the cycle? I know y'all could tell something isn't right here. So why aren't we vocalizing? Why do we continue to follow the trend and continue to repeat the cycle? It's one thing if there's a problem and you didn't know about it. Cool. But it's another when you know there's a problem and still do nothing about it. So what can we start doing to help uplift our culture? We've all experienced some sort of trauma and we need help coping with it. Minazion. There is nothing wrong with talking to somebody, counseling. That's why we are here, to help one another out. Like I said before, we're going to talk about mental health until it is normalized. We gotta counsel ourselves because y'all know a lot of us don't got that type of bread to go see these psychologists. And then two, we don't have much psychologists that look like us that we could relate to, that's been through the struggle like us. So we need to develop our own little counseling sessions for ourselves because hey, talking about things can really help. We need to develop communication between our brethren and sistrens within the culture. We need to bring back love to this culture. We need to take the William Lynch letter, observe the injustices within it, but acknowledge that our ancestors have been through a lot. Acknowledge that they've been through this and we can take that knowledge and do better. We see the ways division is hurting us. So why not try a different war tactic? Because, this is war. And remember, we don't bow to Babylon. So what can we do? Take away the labels, take away the status. What are you then? What are you then? Divide et impera. To divide and conquer, divide and rule. Yep, thank you for joining me, gals and gents, ladies and gentlemen. Man, we always have more to talk about in the future. There's so many topics,
But you already know how it goes.
like we all busy, we all got our schedules, but we'll stay tuned. We'll keep our little thing going.